Being a woman is not always the easiest, and nobody ever said it was. But speaking from a perspective as a woman myself, I understand that there are struggles, tribulations, trials, triumphs, and victories that come with femininity. However, at the end of the day, it doesn't hurt anybody to just let your hair down one day, get a haircut, and change yourself to fit your mood or perspectives, and move on with life. So, when understanding the quote, I think women have to change their hairstyle from time to time, we can see that this is blatantly true because Julia Tashenko understand it herself. She understood this as not only a woman of not only unparalleled victory in the political realm of Ukraine, but also just as a person trying to fight against the oppressive powers of misogyny and, again, systematic oppression in our own country. So, when posed with this quote today, I think women have to change their hairstyle from time to time. We have to look at this in two key areas of analysis. Number one, by understanding why people change their hairstyles so often, more in a literal, physical sense, and understanding what that means more in an emotional context. And number two, seeing how when we change ourselves constantly, it's not always just the physical, but rather a deeper indication for how we feel in the inside. So, first and foremost, starting off with, in the literal sense, we know that haircuts express ourselves and they're a form of self expression both mentally, emotionally, and just as characters, because hair is just as diverse and unique as the person can be. But by that same metric, just as Beyonce once stated that you don't have to use cosmetics, surgeries, or for that matter, a physical appearance to plaster or hide who you are internally, we saw that Julia believed that same thing. Because at the end of the day, being a woman can be very hard at times, and we can hide behind our beauty and our appearance all we want to, but being a natural chameleon to change our aesthetic always, oftentimes comes in parallel to our mood, and that shouldn't be the case. So, very similarly, there's nothing wrong with being able to adapt and change, just like the hair is a representation of not only how we feel, but who we are as people. But we shouldn't let our external beauty and our external beings be an indicator always of how our emotions are carried, because one shouldn't so easily let their emotions be carried on their shoulders. We shouldn't always have to change to fit our environment, but rather take it in strides, because again, who we are as individuals is not indicative of how we look, although for many women it can feel as such. Therefore, because of this, we understand that hair can be a self expressive tactic, it can be a piece of art for many of us, but it also can conceal how we feel internally. So, with this being the case, moving on to our second point of analysis, we understand that in search for something changing, we need to feel self fulfilled, which is why, on the more emotional area or basis, the changing of hair can also represent the changing of life. Life is readily changing and constantly changing, and for women, one day you may have unparalleled success in the political sphere, just like our speaker had, but another time your country may be under a state of panic, a state of war. And we always have to be able to fit and mold ourselves to shape our environments, regardless of the good situations and the bad. Just like how our hair can always readily be changing and a form of self expression to us and our ethnicities and our families, we also have to understand that at a time, we're going to run out of hair. And when we do, we have to be able to go with the flow and work with what we have. Very similarly to how in life, life can be unpredictable and we don't always have the preparation to handle it. But just because we're not always prepared does not mean that we can't alter and adapt and overcome. Because at the end of the day, we need self fulfillment, and self fulfillment cannot come when you're at a state of stagnation. Therefore, when concluding today's speech and understanding how this quote was utilized by our Ukrainian our Ukrainian, I guess you could say, pinnacle, the pinnacle of what it means to be a successful woman working in politics to make herself not only a notable character for change, but a revolutionary for her country and her sex. We have to see that this quote, I think women have to change their hairstyle from time to time, reigns true, because nobody likes to stand in a state of stagnation, but at that same time, we ought to be able to express ourselves and show our truest, most original, vibrant selves out to the world so we can show who we are. And we can see this in two ways. Number one, by understanding both the literal and the emotional context behind changing a hairstyle from time to time. And number two, by giving more of a criticism on femininity and what it means to be the divine female, both through the perspective of our quoter and personally. So yes, women do have to change their hairstyles from time to time, and there's nothing wrong with that. Thank you.